Check one, check two, we're live. We're live. Rade, sing it, man. Govinda. Good morning, everybody. Radhe Radhe Govinda. Radhe. Good morning, everybody. Govinda. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. How are you? Radhe Govinda. Oh man, I love this song. Radhe 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 Govinda. Yeah, man. Good morning, everybody. How are you, man? Welcome to the program. Welcome, my fellow Americans. Welcome, my fellow Americans. What a day, what a weekend, and what a decision is coming down the pipe. If you haven't heard, the Supreme Court is going to chirp in on our elections, the validity, the who can run and who can't run question. And they haven't done that since Bush v. Gore, and definitely, I would say, decided an election. Now, the left is chirping in, saying, "Oh yeah, look, the Supreme Court's going to decide the election." The Supreme Court is going to decide to overturn, I think, a very bad leftist, deranged, paranoid, schizophrenic decision by the High Court in Colorado to ban Donald Trump from the ballot for insurrection. There's no precedence for that. Insurrection is a term used is a term for violence, a violent overthrowing of the government. It's just, it doesn't even fit the definition of a president speaking out against rigged elections. It's two totally different things, and I think the Supreme Court is going to clearly rule in favor of Trump. There's going to be a lot of crybabies out there. Trump himself is not that confident that the Supreme Court is going to go in his direction. We'll listen to Trump's statements, but again, the overall issue at large is this: is that the Supreme Court of the United States of America is going to rule, is Trump eligible to run again for president? Because Colorado and other democratically blocked states say he engaged in an insurrection and a seditious conspiracy. But there's never been any criminal trials. There's never been any real investigation into this. Because again, it doesn't fit it doesn't fit the definition of an insurrection. Insurrection is generally a term for some sort of outside influence coming in to overturn our government, not a movement of the people, by the people, for the people, in the name of during an election. It's not the same thing, right? And I imagine the left knows that, but they don't care. This is what election interference looks like in a busy cycle. Right? Try to get Trump off the ballot. Right? So monumental. It's going to happen fast. February 5-ish. We should have a response from the Supreme Court, and it also. Whether Trump can be on the ballot, but it's also the ramification here is that did insurrection occur? Because if the Supreme Court turns around and says insurrection did not occur, then you've got to open up the fucking jail cells to all of those young people that participated in a rally on January 6th, and they're sitting in jail for fucking 20 years. Right? You got to get those people out. Right? So Thank you, Supreme Court. Supreme Court, I don't see how Supreme Court rules that Trump engaged in insurrection. And that would put this argument finally to rest, right? And so they're going to do it quick, and we shall see. My educated opinion, my intellectual opinion, my philosophical opinion, I don't see how a Supreme Court, with all the rules, with all their insight, could say that this qualifies as a violent attempt to overthrow the United States of America. Right? It's not the Civil War. It's not 600,000 patriots died, and there was the country was in the balance. This is a rather it's a political argument. It's an intellectual argument, and there's no basis in criminal law to suggest that Trump engaged in any of these things. He just had an opinion protected by the First Amendment. They'll say no, because he's an insurrectionist, the First Amendment doesn't apply to him. This is all garbage right here. So anyway, look at this fascinating story. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Vinny Martini in the house. Good morning, Weevil Girl. Good morning, Sedento. I apologize for Thursday. Thursday, I was busy. A friend, I had a friend, a childhood friend died, and I went to the funeral down there in Brooklyn, and also this is what I was doing. I believe this reporter believes in spreading joy, right? And on the way down there, I visited my grandparents. I'm 60 years old, so obviously my grandparents are dead. They'd be 110 years old. And I visited their tomb, and it was rather fascinating. And then this happened. So Grandma and Grandpa. I'm singing to the dead. All right? This is how you celebrate. Hey, go this is how you do it. This is how you do it in life, right? You don't fucking go to a graveyard, right? There's actually a funny story about this. Right? Hold on a second. So while I was there, singing to Grandma and Grandpa, this guy, right, some guy with a clipboard came up, right? Came up behind me with a clipboard. I'm singing, right? He's interrupting my performance, right? There's nobody there. There was no living people in the cemetery. It was 35 degrees. It was outside. It was cold. There's nobody there, right? And some guy walks up to me with a clipboard, right? And he fucking says, he waited till the song was over, and then he wanted my information. I said, so I tried to soften him up. I said, yo, by the way, have you ever seen any ghosts in here? And he goes, no, man, I've never seen no fucking ghosts, right? And I said, well, how long have you been working here? And he goes, I don't know, about 300 years. I fucking said, what are you talking about? But truthfully, I made that part up. But truthfully, it was a wellness check, right? The moral of the story is, here's a guy singing, is happy and singing in the cemetery, right, to his late grandparents, and some would perceive that as crazy. Others would perceive it as spreading joy, right? And that's how I perceive it. I thought my grandparents were some of the most wonderful, fun-loving, laughing. They were all singers and dancers, and some of them boxed. They were wonderful people, and that's how I want to. That's how I remember them, and that's how I will always be. That sense of joy in me comes from them. I'm almost directly from my grandmother. Thank you, Grandma. Honor the dead, man. Honor your ancestors. Right? honor your people. So these are the Democrats. There they are. They're babies, big fat babies. They're going to be crying after Trump is acquitted. Oh, I can't believe it. I don't know. Oh my God, what are we going to do? You know what it sounds like, right? So these are our Democratic colleagues who identify as Democrats. They are going to be pissed off when Trump when the Supreme Court finally says enough. If you want to have an election, if you don't like Trump, don't vote for him. Right? That's all you have to do. If you don't like Trump, don't vote for him. Don't use the court system and all, to try to get him off the ballot. Right? It's fucking crazy. So I have a website every morning, 9 a.m., Monday through Thursday. Most of the time I'm here. And I'll be here more. I'll be here consistently as this election rolls around. So anyway, man. Oh yeah, let's start here. Good story. Going back to the moon. We're going back to the moon. You remember we were covering Artemis, the Artemis trip to the moon. The humans want to go back to the moon, and it seems like it's happening. We just shot a rocket. More than 50 years later, after 1972. I know, hold your fire. I know a lot of people believe that we never went to the moon. But if we did, right, it looks like India recently, like a year ago, well, last year, made it to the moon. Yeah. So we're sending a rocket to the moon. And we're going to unload some stuff there so that when Artemis finally gets there, there'll be some stuff already there for them, I guess, is the reason for the shot. But what's interesting about this rocket is that it is a space time capsule, right? In the capsule itself are human archives, human remains, DNA, little, computer stories about humanity on Earth. It's a time capsule. And it's going to, once it does its mission on the moon, it's not coming back to Earth. They're going to send it into orbit right around where Mars is, right? About as far away, from the planet as Mars is. And it's just going to sit there until some fucking people find it someday, right? That's a little deeper than digging a hole and saying, putting a time capsule underneath a building. And someday somebody digs there and finds it and says, wow, look at this shit. Look what I found. Right? They find blocks of gold from 8,000 years ago. Right? So this rocket is going to go to the moon, drop off some stuff, and then it become a time capsule in space forever until it disintegrates, until it falls apart. How long could it last in space? Do we have materials that could last indefinitely? No. They could last 100, 200 years, and it's just going to fall apart. It's fucking cheap, cheap human-made metals. They just melt and crush. So, but anyway, we're going back to the moon. Artemis is scheduled to shoot off there in the next year or two. I think by the end of the year, they're going to send astronauts to do a revolution around the moon and come back. And that should be pretty impressive. And they're going to follow it up with a moonwalk. I'm excited about that stuff. I think it's fascinating, And if you disagree with, the idea that humans even went to the moon, which a lot of people believe, and that the Earth is flat, or the moon is flat, both are flat. We're all flat. If you believe those sorts of things too, it's also a fascinating story to follow, because you can say, look, we're being duped again. Look, you can do that. So heading to the moon. We're heading to the moon. So here's the big story. What else? I'm reading the chat. Nixon called the astronauts on the moon from his White House landline, says Spirit Child. Yeah, I know. They did that. They had relays, right? They knew how to do it. See, the problem is that a lot of the moon landing technology got lost. Nobody wanted to do it anymore. So if you stop doing something, you forget how to do it. That's normal. It's like the pyramids. Nobody knows how the fuck they built them because they stopped building them. They forgot how to do it. there's no record of how they did it. Right? And even if you have a record, they still don't know how to do it. So, but anyway, so this is the story. Supreme Court, this is from the New York Times reporting. I don't know why I'm able to see New York Times today because I don't pay for it. And they want you to pay for it. But I got the article up, so we'll talk about it before they take it down. Supreme Court to decide whether Trump is eligible for Colorado ballot. Now, we're talking about primaries. We're talking about the primary election, Republican primary election. Is Trump allowed to be on the ballot? An American citizen running for president, former president, is he allowed to be on the ballot because he engaged in, quote, insurrection with no criminal cases or anything other than nothing? Right? A couple of videos of a rally on January 6th. A couple of people got out of hand. And for that, Trump is disqualified. That's what they're going to decide. So here's the story. Supreme Court agreed on Friday to decide whether former President Donald Trump is eligible for Colorado's Republican primary ballot, thrusting the justices into a pivotal role that could alter the course of this year's presidential election. Well, a lot of things can alter the course. The bringing these stupid cases up anyway is altering the course, right? And every time they do something like this, every time the dirty Democrats do something like this, it seems that Trump goes up in popularity, right? He goes up in popularity. The sweep of the court's ruling is likely to be broad. It will probably resolve not only whether Donald Trump may appear on the Colorado primary ballot after the state's top court declared that he had engaged in insurrection. Yeah, that's true. Not since Bush v. Gore, the 2000 decision that handed the presidency to George W. Bush. Not since then has the Supreme Court taken such a central role. That is true. The case will be argued on February 8th. That is right around the corner, man. That is 4 weeks away. Iowa's next week. They're already having primaries in America, presidential primaries in America already, and but not in Colorado, not in Michigan. And so they got to get to this quickly. It looks like I would say by the case will be argued on February 8th. I would say that the Supreme Court probably has already had, I would think that they're already penning their decisions based on what they have. The case is going to be argued on February 8th. Decided quickly, the Colorado Republican Party had urged the justices to rule by March 5 when the states, including Colorado, hold primaries. They're definitely going to do that. They're definitely going to do that. If they argue the case on February 8th, I would say in a few days, you'll get the official answer. But in those arguments, while justices are arguing and listening, you'll get a sense of where they stand, right, based on the types of questions they're asking. Right? If they ask a question like, where on earth is there any evidence of Donald Trump engaging in insurrection? Right? If they ask questions like that, you know where they stand, right? And so you have a mostly Republican appointed Supreme Court, but Trump says that the leftist judges are more likely to lean left no matter what, and that the judges on the right are more likely to be to appease the center, right? That's what he said. We're going to listen to what Trump said, and then that'll clear it up. But I just want to get the dates together. We're in this broadcast. It's January 8, 2024, and next month, February 8, 1 month away. We're going to get this case will be argued at the Supreme Court with a decision prior to the Republican primary, the beginning, when Colorado actually votes, Michigan and Colorado. So soon. The number of challenges to Mr. Trump's eligibility, New York Times calls him Mr. Trump. Former President Donald Trump. Now they're minimizing him. Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump. affecting Mr. Trump on the court's docket. An appeals court will hear arguments on Tuesday on whether he has absolute immunity from prosecution. There's no logic to it, right? There's no logic to the argument that Trump engaged in an insurrection. He was the president of the United States. He was the sitting president of the United States. Whether he was outgoing was a matter of, it was still an open argument. But he was still a sitting president. Can a sitting president be guilty of a violent insurrection against the people of America? No. The people of America spoke on January 6th. They showed up at the rally to let their voices heard about election fraud in this country, election shenanigans in this country that everybody knows goes on. The Democrats are on the record. Hillary Clinton herself said that the election was stolen by the Russians. The Russians hacked the election. Oh my God, it's an insurrection. So everybody's on the record saying that the elections are fucked up and rigged and manipulated against the people. So how is Trump any different from saying that? The only difference is that Trump actually did something about it, right? That's what Trump did. He spoke up about it. Mr. Trump asked the Supreme Court to intervene after Colorado's top court disqualified him from the ballot last month. That decision is on hold while the justices consider the matter. Wow. Just wow. What a time to be in politics right now. The front runner for the presidency of the United States is winning, right? The front runner. And the opposing party who is in power right now, Biden and his cronies, are trying everything, every kind of monkey wrench to stop him. That fucking insurrection and seditious conspiracy and locking up 1,000 Americans who participated in a January 5 rally, right? A violent rally? Well, where's the violence? Where was the violence on January 6th? Could people playing rugby outside, pushing each other? There's no violence. Nobody was armed. It wasn't an armed overthrow of anything. They pushed into we all know the story. People pushed into the Capitol. They walked peaceably around and then capitulated, left and said, we did our job. We spoke up. Mr. Trump acknowledged the court's decision to hear the case at his rally. Let's listen to Trump's response. Here's Trump.
The Supreme Court is taking the case from Colorado, and so they'll make a decision. And you know what I do find, and maybe say it, maybe don't, but I say it. A Democrat judge appointed by, let's say, Obama, they're down and they say, we're appointed, that's the end. Mm-hmm. When you are a Republican judge and you're appointed by, let's say, Trump, they go out of their way to hurt you so that they can show that they have been fair.
I don't agree with that, Trump. Do not agree with that. They go out of their way to hurt you to show that they're fair. Come on, man. Come on, Trump. Wake up. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. That's not what's happening. This is a bizarre statement he made.
Honorable people. It's an amazing difference. I've never seen anything like it. You appoint some of these radical left Democrats, and they've, right from the beginning, you say, we're dead. And the Republican judges want to go out of their way to be fair and unbiased, and even to a point where they hurt you.
Fair and unbiased is a good thing, Trump. It's how you define it, right? It's a good thing.
And I guess it's a different wiring system or something. But all I want is fair. I fought really hard to get...
He's going after the Supreme Court justices, leaning his finger on the scale. That's not smart. It's not only not smart, it's not really true. That's not true. The justices are going to rule in a way that is legal, right? They haven't had the opportunity to weigh in on this. This Colorado case had opened the door wide open for Supreme Court to step in and rule. So I disagree with Trump here. I think he's a little off in what he's saying.
Three very, very good people, and they're great people, very smart people, and I just hope that they're going to be fair because, the other side plays the ref.
Spirit Child says, I saw the funniest clip of Trump yesterday saying that he could have negotiated with the North and South, preventing the Civil War. Probably. Lincoln didn't do such a good job of that, and I think Trump would have been excellent with Israel. I really do. It wouldn't have been. But let's talk about insurrection, right? What does it mean? It means using violence as a means to overthrow a government. Now, what is Antifa, right? How many rallies did we see throughout the course of since the pandemic, right? 2020, 2019, 2020, all the way to now? How many fucking rallies did we see with Antifa breaking and smashing and crashing and hurting people and setting businesses on fire and terrorizing mother effers, using violence? Right? How many do we see? I count 100. And the question is, how many Antifa members are sitting in prison for insurrection? Huh? Crickets? None. Nobody. This is politics. Right? And in Antifa's own words, this is what it is. Anti-fascist activists Antifa, increasingly mobilized in the wake of President Trump's election, are unapologetic about what they describe as the necessary use of violence to combat authoritarianism. The necessary use of violence to what? Because they see Trump as authoritarian, therefore their violence is even though he's the president, it doesn't matter. They justify their violence as necessary. But those guys over there petitioning for a free and fair election, right, and show up with evidence in hand, those people right there should be thrown in jail for 30 fucking years, right? That's what they're saying, right? Look, the evidence is clear. With Antifa, the evidence couldn't be more clear. It couldn't be more clear, right? Violence everywhere, unapologetic. So there's clearly precedence for violence in rallies and violence in political speech and movements, right? That's a given, right? Does it raise to the level of violating the 14th Amendment and Section 3 of that 14th Amendment, and is it a violation of the Constitution? Did Trump engage in any violation of the Constitution? It does not appear even close. So that's what the Supreme Court did. These jerk-offs right here engage in insurrection? No, they engaged in violence and shit-covered lenses, seeing the world through a shit-covered lens to believe that they are some sort of anti-fascist movement. Who are you fighting? You're fighting, and the side you're fighting, and the side that you're fighting against, or should be fighting against, the dirty Democrats who are in bed with all of the fucking major corporations. You're fighting for them, and you're saying that you're anti-fascist. Right? These definitions even fall short. Right? They fall grossly short. None of this is based in any law. It's all paranoia. It's all schizophrenia. It's all overeducated garbage. Right? You sit in college for 12 years and someone hands you a PhD and suddenly you have this backwards, unexplainable, incomprehensible definition of the world. You're so smart you can't even fucking tell somebody what's on your mind because they won't understand me because this is geared for academics. And that's what happens to overeducated people. I like this guy. I'm being advertised for a gun belt. Look at all these guns. Put all your guns in there. Your bullets and your guns. What else are they trying to sell me today? Trying to sell me some ass, I guess. Is this what that's what that is? And also, what is this? It looks like a guitar tuner. Guitar tuner. I need one of those. Let's listen to some of the spin. I think I would agree almost 99% with Styx Hexenhammer. I'm not kissing Styx Hexenhammer's ass, by the way. At one point, I didn't like him at all, way back when. But now I see him as coming around. And he's got some really good things to say. I watch, not all of it, but I watch a lot of it.
Start off today with rather big news. The Supreme Court is indeed going to take up the case sparked in Colorado over Trump's ballot access. Of course, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled on completely partisan grounds that he was no longer eligible to be on the primary ballot there because he engaged in insurrection. They invoked the Insurrection Act on Article 3. The problem being he was never actually found to have done that.
Correct.
In the Colorado case, they just basically decided it out of thin air.
Right. There has to be some sort of legal action to lean on. You don't just come from out of nowhere and say, because the guy's running for president, oh, he's an insurrectionist. Where? What are you pointing to? What case? What confirms this insurrection? Nothing. So Styx is accurate in that.
Without an actual criminal trial. See, the problem is that committing something like sedition, it would require a criminal trial.
Right.
It's out of the hands, it appears, of the states to actually do it. This would be a federal matter. Right. What I suspect is that the Supreme Court is going to rule in Trump's favor. It may or may not be a split decision. Someone like Ketanji, of course, they're going to want to rule in favor of the Colorado State Supreme Court's decision. But will they be able to find even one shred of legal doctrine to back up that position?
They will not be able to find one shred of legal document to back that decision. Even Ketanji Jackson Brown, the black Supreme Court justice who got appointed by Joe Biden because she's black and a woman, right? The affirmative action judge. Even her, right? That's the one to watch, by the way. Watch Ketanji. What does Ketanji say? It's going to be a fascinating read. The opinions of the justices in this case is going to be monumental, really.
Again, for partisan reasons. A state Supreme Court may be hyper-partisan. The federal Supreme Court, the actual Supreme Court of the United States, typically attempts to avoid such things. There's definitely some partisan crap that goes on there, but on really important decisions, they tend to be more restrained. So it might be a 9-0 decision, which, by the way, if that happens, the liberals are really going to have a hard time, because they're going to have to explain how Ketanji and others ruled in his favor, and therefore their arguments are legally meaningless and vacuous. They'll have to explain to their constituents why that happened, because the leftoids aren't going to like it. I suspect that they'll rule narrowly in his favor, and the way to do that is this. Simply assert the fact that this is a federal matter. So the states.
I don't think it's going to be narrow at all. I think it'll be unanimous in my view. I think that I don't. Again, there's no legal precedence to lean on. So how could it be? Why would it be split? All right. If the Supreme Court splits on this, that's bad. That's a bad precedence. That some of these high judges that are not supposed to be non-biased and lean on the law can see insurrection in any of this is a little scary. So I don't think any of them are going to go that way.
Supreme Court's original gathering, the little assembly that they got together to decree that Donald Trump committed insurrection.
Sidento says they will rule against Donald Trump. Matt Parker, Styx is good at political analysis. Yeah, he's good. He's very smart. He's got a big brain.
Is legally meaningless. And they say, well, whether or not he did, there hasn't been an actual federal case against him on these charges. He's never been found guilty.
Right.
He was acquitted by the Senate in the impeachment proceedings, which, I mean, had he been actually removed from office, I guess you could kind of sort of invoke Article 3. Still, because it's not a properly incepted court of law, again, it's not necessarily, even legally meaningful. And they'll rule also that they'll simply rule on that grounds, I think. A more expansive ruling would be that they side with certain legal scholars and say the Insurrection Act doesn't mean anything anymore because the Civil War was too long ago. This was a radical Reconstruction period sort of addendum. It doesn't have any modern relevance. I suspect they would be reluctant to do so, though. And actually, I would agree with the assertion that Article 3 is still something that's in legal force. And
yeah, it is in legal force. There's no doubt about it. It's not. They're not going to quash this law, right? This 14th Amendment. It would require 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate to overturn it, to get rid of the amendment completely. But I forgot what I was going to say.
Is this. Otherwise, public officials, and not just the President of the United States, could commit crimes and then simply claim immunity, no matter what the crimes were. So you could have an egregious crime. A former president or vice president or something flips their lid, and they go psycho.
So I think Sticks is accurate. Let's watch some of the left spin.
February 8th going to take up this matter. I'd love your thoughts on that.
There's a judge.
Thank you, Ali. This issue was always destined for the Supreme Court of the United States, and obviously the court itself understands the momentum.
Before we do that, let's look at the market. It looks like it's up right now, way up. Go. Yeah, so let's see what we got here. Ding, give it to me. Ooh, wow. Nice move off the bottom. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up. Where's the Dow? There it is. Dow down 145. S&P 500 up 11. And the NASDAQ up 86. NASDAQ seems to be leading the charge this morning. Real. So look at the big tech winners. NVIDIA has broken $500 per share at 504, up 13 this morning. Google up $1.25. Apple up 174. Amazon up 2. Facebook, formerly Facebook, Meta up 3.25. Microsoft up 247. Tesla down 62 cents. What else? Bitcoin up $600 today. Whoop-de-doo. Go. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, all down. The war stocks not making it today. What happened? We're not talking about Hamas anymore. The holy vaccine stocks in this flu season, man, there's fucking flu going around. People sneezing and coughing all over each other. Those are mixed right now. Pfizer down 15 cents. Johnson & Johnson down 15 cents. Moderna up 50 cents. So it looks like a mixed open. Technology up bigly. And almost bigly. Yeah, I'd call that bigly. It's a half a percentage point. And Dow down a half a percentage point. So we got a mixed. Boeing shares slump after their MAX 9 jets got grounded. That's why Boeing is down. Is that why Boeing is down? Where's Boeing? Here it is. Boeing down $22 a share. Pow, bang, zoom. Ouch. There's a little bit of a crush right there. So let's listen to this guy talk about about Trump.
This importance of the Colorado case for the country. This will be one of the most consequential Supreme Court decisions for both American democracy and for American politics.
I agree.
Since the founding of the nation. Ali, the genius of the Constitution is that it belongs to the people of the United States.
All right. So he's going to tell you that the Constitution belongs to the people of the United States. Then he's going to turn around and say that Trump engaged in insurrection on MSNBC. Watch.
It belongs to the American people. The Constitution is the great charter of our self-governance, and it majestically begins, "We the people of the United States."
Right. So the people engaged in this alleged insurrection are the people of the United States. Trump is the people of the United States. It is not an outside entity at all, anywhere. There is no outside influence. It was Americans. Right. That's why there is no insurrection. It doesn't fit the definition.
In order to form a more perfect union, do ordain and establish this Constitution. Mm-hmm. This is one of the rarest moments in constitutional history where literally millions upon millions of Americans are interested in and riveted on the meaning of their Constitution. Every American can read the single sentence of the disqualification clause of the 14th Amendment and understand that the former president violated the Constitution when he attempted to remain in power after his 4-year term had lapsed.
After that long speech, he says Trump tried to remain in power. Where did he remain in power? Where? He walked out the door. He left.
Preventing the peaceful transfer of power to his successor for the first time in American history.
That's not insurrection, you idiot.
Very often, Allie, the meaning of the Constitution.
So this guy's a for sale cock smoker.
Well, there are over 30 cases where there's some kind of challenge to Donald Trump's eligibility under the 14th Amendment. Some of them have been decided. Some of them are still very much in pending status. As we know, the main decision by the Secretary of State there is being appealed through the judicial process through the main state courts. And in some ways, the Colorado Supreme Court ruling as it did was a gift because it gave the Supreme Court a way to rule on this sooner rather than later. And
that really is true. I would say that if the left wanted to keep Trump off the ballot, they handed the Supreme Court this case to decide on. And you see how quickly Supreme Court picked it up. They picked it up and they're going to decide very quickly. In my view, I think this is cut and dry. I think that this insurrection nonsense will fall apart once this decision is put forth.
Really important. It's important for a variety of reasons. It's important for the voters of the United States to know who they can vote for. It's important for the election officials who are trying to print ballots and figure out who's going to appear on those ballots. And lastly, it's important for
of this argument. If Trump did not engage in insurrection, then there is no reason to keep him off the ballot. And there's also no reason to keep those hundreds of people in prison for insurrection, right? You gotta open the door for them. Right? So anyway, so that's the whole shit right there. Fucking, Nasdaq's going up. Nasdaq's going up without me. Why couldn't it go up today? It was going up. Why couldn't it go up on Friday? So anyway, thank you all for joining me. Marcusconte reporting. So I mean, in summary, we have elections in America. They go on and on. You know, they're always challenging. There's always something that appears to be do or die. Oh, this one is so important that all the American people are suddenly paying attention to the Constitution and what it means. Right? Right. And it really is, I guess, an academic trying to redefine the Constitution itself, right? Insurrection. Because look, if this rule holds true, that any uprising, any pushing back on government can be viewed as insurrection, and you can get a knock on the door and thrown in prison. Right? That's what it leads to. That is totalitarianism. That is fascism. That's the very thing that the stupid asses on the left, the Antifa jerk-offs, are fighting for. They want that to go away, but they're actually paving the way for more of it to happen by supporting a decision like this. So, no insurrection, no seditious conspiracy occurred on this at this time. It's just what. This is what democracy looks like. This is what free speech looks like. This is what political discourse looks like. It's not criminal. It's not a crime to voice one's opinion. So anyway, thank you all for joining me. I'll give you some more Rade. See you guys tomorrow. Radhe Radhe Govinda, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe. and